Your life is being stolen from you right now. And you're not even fighting back. Every day, people are taking your most precious resource, your time, and you're handing it over willingly. While you scroll through social media for just 5 minutes. Successful people are building empires. While you binge watch shows to relax, others are creating their future. While you complain about not having enough hours in the day. The truth is you're wasting the very hours you've been given. I've studied successful people for decades. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, they don't have more time than you. They just refuse to waste it on activities and people that don't serve their purpose. Most people in this room will die with their greatest potential still inside them. Not because they lack talent, but because they squandered their 24 hours day after day after day. Every single person in this room has exactly the same amount of time. No matter who you are, where you're from, or what you've accomplished. You have 24 hours today. No more, no less. The richest person in the world cannot buy more time. The most powerful leader cannot command more hours in a day. Time is the great equalizer. But why do some people seem to squeeze so much out of their 24 hours while others barely make a dent in their dreams? I've spent years studying successful people around the world. And I've discovered something profound. Success is not about having more time. It's about what you do with the time you have. Time is not just passing. Time is life. When you waste your time, you are wasting your life. When you maximize your time, you maximize your life potential. This is not a small matter. This is everything. I remember meeting a young man in Nassau years ago. He approached me after a conference, frustrated and exhausted. Dr. Munroe. He said, I'm working so hard but getting nowhere. There's never enough time. I looked him in the eyes and asked one question. Do you own your time? Or does your time own you? He stared back, confused. So I explained, most people don't own their time. They rent it to other people's priorities. That day changed his life. And today he runs 3 successful businesses. What changed? Not the clock, not the calendar. What changed was his relationship with time. You see, time is the only resource that, when lost, can never be regained. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose friends and make new ones. You can even lose your health and sometimes recover it. But once time is gone, it is gone forever. This is why successful people treat time differently. They don't see time as something to spend. They see it as something to invest. Every minute, every hour is a deposit into the future they're creating. When I was a young man learning this principle, I made a decision that transformed my productivity forever. I started waking up at 4:30 a.m. People thought I was crazy. Myles, why torture yourself, they asked. I told them, I'm not torturing myself, I'm investing in myself. Those early morning hours became my personal university. I read books, wrote ideas, and planned my day before most people had opened their eyes. What happened? Those small investments of time began to compound. Ideas turned into books. Books turned into opportunities. Opportunities turned into global impact. All because I understood that time is the currency of life. Listen carefully. The difference between where you are now and where you could be 1 year from now is how you use the hours in between. Most people never grasp this. They're always waiting for the right time to start living their purpose. But successful people know that the right time is right now. Your salary is not your real compensation for work. Your true payment is time. When you work 8 hours, you're trading 8 hours of your life. The question is what you're getting worth what you're giving? Most people never ask this question. Here's something that might shock you. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Many people are busy running around, attending meetings, answering emails, but at the end of the day, they've accomplished nothing meaningful. Successful people don't focus on being busy, they focus on results. I met a CEO of a major corporation who shared with me his secret to massive productivity. Every morning he said, I ask myself one question: what's the best use of my time right now? Not what's urgent, not what's easy, but what's the best use of my time? This simple question transformed his effectiveness. You must understand this principle. Time management is actually self-management. You don't manage time, time continues whether you manage it or not. What you manage is yourself during time. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mother I met in London. She worked 2 jobs, raised 3 children, and still managed to start a now thriving business. I asked her how she did it. Her answer was powerful. I don't find time. I make time. I decided what matters most and cut away everything else. This is what successful people do differently. They cut away the non-essential. They understand that saying no to one thing means saying yes to something more important. Most people treat time as if they have an endless supply. They waste hours on social media, mindless television, and activities that add no value to their lives or purpose. But when you realize that your time is limited and non-renewable, you become selective about how you spend it. I want you to think about something when you say, I don't have time. What you're really saying is, this is not a priority for me. Be honest with yourself. Is building your dream a priority? Is your health a priority? Is your family a priority? If so, your use of time will reflect these priorities. Successful people align their time with their highest values. If you value financial freedom, but spend no time learning about investments or building assets, there's a misalignment that will keep you stuck. Time reveals your true priorities, not what you say is important. But where you actually spend your hours and minutes, that's what reveals what matters to you. I once asked a room full of business leaders to do an exercise. For 1 week, they tracked every 30-minute block of their time. The results shocked them. Many discovered they were spending hours each day on activities that didn't align with their goals and values. One man found he was spending 4 hours daily on email and social media, but complained he had no time to exercise or be with his family. This awareness is the first step to transformation. You cannot change what you do not measure. Start paying attention to where your time goes. Remember this: time is passing whether you use it or not. Your life is happening right now, not tomorrow. Not next year, but right now. In this moment. Successful people don't wait for the perfect moment, they take the moment and make it perfect. Every morning when you wake up, you receive 86.400 seconds as a gift. No one carries their unused time to the next day. What you don't use, you lose forever. This understanding creates urgency in successful people's lives. Not a panicked, stressed urgency, but a purposeful, focused urgency that drives meaningful action. I challenge you to stop saying, I'll do it someday or when I have time. These are the statements of people who will never reach their potential. Instead, say, this matters to me, so I will make time for it now. Your 24 hours are yours to command. They're yours to invest. They're yours to multiply. But first, you must take ownership of them. No one can steal your time without your permission. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Choose wisely. In the coming sections, we'll break down exactly how successful people structure their days, multiply their impact, and create extraordinary results within the same 24 hours we all have. But remember this fundamental truth. It's not about having more time, it's about making more of the time you have. There are two types of people in this world, time masters and time victims. Time masters control their days. Time victims let their days control them. The difference between the two determines your success, your impact, and ultimately your legacy. Time victims wake up reacting. Their mornings start with grabbing their phones, checking emails, responding to other people's emergencies before they've even had breakfast. They've given away their most valuable asset, their focused attention. They spend their days putting out fires, constantly saying, I'm so busy, wearing busyness like a badge of honor. But let me tell you something powerful. Busyness is not a sign of productivity. It's often a sign of poor time management. Time victims confuse activity with accomplishment. On the other hand, time masters wake up with intention. They don't react to life, they direct it. They understand something fundamental. Your morning determines your day. Your day determines your week. Your week determines your month. Your month determines your year. And your year determines your life. I once worked with a business owner named Marcus. His company was failing. He worked 16-hour days, barely saw his family, and was constantly exhausted. I'm working harder than everyone, he told me. Why am I not succeeding? When I examined his daily schedule, I discovered the problem immediately. Marcus was a time victim. He spent his days responding to every crisis, attending meaningless meetings and allowing constant interruptions. His calendar was filled with other people's priorities. We completely restructured his approach to time. First, we identified his highest value activities, the 20% of tasks that produce 80% of his results. Then we built his schedule around these activities, not around responding to emails or attending unnecessary meetings. Within 6 months, Marcus's business turned around completely. His profits doubled. But more importantly, his workday shortened to 8 focused hours. He now has dinner with his family every night. He has energy and clarity. What changed? Not the clock. What changed was his relationship with time. Time victims believe they don't have enough time. Time masters know they have exactly the right amount of time for what truly matters. This shift in mindset changes everything. Many of you sitting here today are thinking, but my situation is different. I really don't have enough time. Let me challenge that belief. You have the same 24 hours as every successful person who ever lived. What you may lack is not time, but clarity about what deserves your time. Time victims allow urgency to override importance. They live in a constant state of emergency, handling whatever screams loudest for their attention. All time masters, however, distinguish between what's urgent and what's important. They focus ruthlessly on the important, even when it's not urgent. Consider this. When was the last time you spent focused time on your most important life goals? Not responding to emergencies, not checking items off a to-do list, but actually advancing your deepest purpose. Most people can't remember. Why? Because they're caught in the cycle of urgency addiction. I met a woman named Patricia who transformed her life by breaking this cycle. She was a senior executive, constantly overwhelmed, her health suffering from stress. One day, she collapsed at work. During her recovery, she realized something had to change. Patricia made a bold decision. She blocked out the first 2 hours of every workday for her most important strategic work. No emails, no calls, No meetings. Her colleagues thought she was crazy. How can you be unavailable for 2 hours every morning? They asked, but within 3 months, her department's productivity increased by 40%. What happened? Patricia became a time master. She stopped allowing urgency to dictate her days. Instead, she aligned her time with what truly mattered for long-term success. Here's a powerful principle. Time victims have priorities. Time masters prioritize. The difference is action. Many people know what's important, but they don't organize their days around it. I want you to take out your calendar right now. Look at last week. Where did your time actually go? Does it align with what you say matters most to you? For most people, there's a painful gap between what they value and how they spend their time. Time victims constantly say, I don't have a choice. Time masters know they always have a choice, even in the most demanding circumstances. You choose your response. You choose where your focus goes. You choose what you will and won't do. I remember working with a young father who complained he had no time for his children. He worked 2 jobs and was studying for an advanced degree. When we analyzed his schedule, we found he was spending nearly 3 hours daily on social media and television time that could have been invested in his children. This isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. Most people have never conducted a serious audit of where their time actually goes. They feel busy, rushed, and overwhelmed. But they can't account for all their hours. Sometimes victims believe more time would solve their problems. Time masters know better management of existing time is the answer. Adding more hours doesn't help if you're misusing the hours you already have. The most dangerous words in the vocabulary of a time victim are, I'll do it later. Later is where dreams go to die. Later rarely comes. Time masters understand that now is their only guaranteed moment. I challenge you to stop thinking of time as something to spend and start thinking of it as something to invest. Every minute you invest returns either positive, negative, or 0 results. Successful people maximize minutes that produce positive returns. Most people approach time management backward. They try to fit important activities into the cracks between urgencies. This never works. You must schedule the important first, then fit everything else around it. The greatest secret of time masters is that they refuse to major in minor things. They have crystal clarity about their purpose. And they filter every request through this question. Does this align with my purpose and priorities? If the answer is no, they decline without guilt. Time victims try to do everything. Time masters do the right things. They recognize that success comes not from doing more, but from doing what matters most with excellence and consistency. As we move forward, I will show you exactly how to become a time master, how to structure your day. Protect your priorities and multiply your impact. But remember, the first step is deciding which group you'll belong to. Will you be a time victim, constantly reacting to life's demands? Or will you be a time master, directing your hours with purpose and intention? The choice is yours, but make no mistake, you are making this choice right now, whether consciously or unconsciously. And this choice will determine everything about your future. Success leaves clues. When you study truly successful people across every field, you discover they approach their 24 hours with remarkable similarity. They follow what I call the 24-hour power plan, a strategic approach to maximizing each day. The first element of this plan is owning your morning. Your morning sets the tone for your entire day. Most people rush through their mornings, already behind before they've begun. Successful people rise early and claim the first hour of their day for themselves. I learned this principle from a man named Samuel who built a $100 million business from nothing. Samuel wakes at 5 a.m. every day not to check emails or social media, but to invest in himself. He spends this time in reflection, reading, planning, and physical exercise. By 7 a.m., he's accomplished more for his personal growth than most people accomplish all day. The second element is time blocking. Successful people don't just have to do lists, they have scheduled appointments with their priorities. They literally block time in their calendars for their most important work. And they protect these blocks as seriously as they would protect meetings with important clients. I worked with Amara, a struggling entrepreneur who could never find time to work on her business strategy. She was constantly caught in the trap of responding to customer issues, employee problems, and administrative tasks. I taught her to block 2 hours every Tuesday and Thursday morning specifically for strategic planning and business development. Within 3 months, her revenue increased by 60%. Why? Because she finally gave her highest value activities the time they deserved. She stopped hoping to find time and started making time. The third element of the 24-hour power plant is what I call ruthless elimination. Successful people are as clear about what they don't do as they are about what they do. They understand that saying yes to everything means saying no to what matters most. Every request for your time should pass through this filter. Does this align with my purpose and my priorities? If not, decline politely but firmly. This isn't selfish, it's strategic. By saying no to what doesn't matter, you create space to say yes to what does. The fourth element is energy management. Time management without energy management is useless. You might have 8 hours available for work, but if your energy is depleted, those hours are worth little. Successful people structure their days around their energy patterns. They schedule their most challenging, creative work during their peak energy hours. They take strategic breaks to recharge. They understand that working longer doesn't equal working better. I watched Jason, a brilliant executive, transform his productivity by adopting this approach. Instead of working straight through the day, he began working in focused 90-minute blocks followed by short breaks. His creativity soared, his decision-making improved, and his overall output increased while his work hours actually decreased. The fifth element of the 24-hour power plan is ending well. How you end your day determines how you begin the next one. Successful people have evening rituals that allow them to process the day's achievements, prepare for tomorrow, and disconnect completely to rest. Too many people carry the stress of the day into their sleep, then wake up already burdened. Successful people know that proper closure each evening leads to proper openings each morning. These 5 elements owning your morning: time blocking, ruthless elimination, energy management, and ending well form the backbone of the 24-hour power plan. This isn't complicated, but it requires commitment. Most people will not do this. They'll continue to react to life rather than direct it. They'll continue to wonder why some people accomplish so much while they remain stuck. The difference is not talent or opportunity, it's approach. What would your life look like if you implemented this 24-hour power plan consistently for 1 year? How much more could you create, contribute, and accomplish? How much more impact could you have? I challenge you to stop hoping for more time and start mastering the time you have. The 24-hour power plan is your path to doing exactly that. It's not about perfect execution, it's about consistent improvement. Start today, right where you are, with what you have. The greatest secret of ultra successful people isn't that they manage time better, it's that they multiply time. while most people are trying to squeeze more into their 24 hours. The truly successful have figured out how to get more done than seems humanly possible within that same time frame. Time multiplication is different from time management. Time management is about efficiency, doing things right. Time multiplication is about leverage, getting more results from the same input of time. The first principle of time multiplication is delegation. Most people try to do everything themselves. Successful people understand that their time has different values for different activities. They focus on their highest and best, use the activities where their unique talents create the most value, and they delegate everything else. I met Darius, a talented architect who was working 80-hour weeks but barely making a profit. When I examined his schedule, I discovered he was spending over 30 hours weekly on bookkeeping, answering basic emails, and handling administrative tasks that someone else could do for $20 per hour were consuming time he could be using to design projects worth $200 per hour. Darius hired an assistant for 25 hours a week, which immediately freed up his time for high-value design work. Within 2 months, his income doubled while his working hours decreased. This is time multiplication in action. Many people resist delegation because they believe no one can do it as well as I can. This perfectionistic thinking keeps them small. The question isn't whether someone else can do it exactly like you. The question is whether they can do it well enough while freeing you to focus on what only you can do. The second principle of time multiplication is systems. Systems are processes that produce results without consuming your time once they're established. Maria owned a small bakery and worked 16-hour days to keep up with orders. We worked together to create systems, recipe cards with precise instructions, training videos for new staff, ordering systems that ran automatically. Within 6 months, the bakery ran smoothly with Maria working just 7 hours daily. Her systems multiplied her time. The third principle is technology leverage. Most people use technology reactively, constantly responding to notifications and alerts. Successful people use technology proactively to automate routine tasks and amplify their capabilities. I worked with a professor who was spending 15 hours weekly grading papers and providing feedback. We created a system using digital tools that automated part of the grading process and allowed him to provide audio feedback instead of written comments. This cut his grading time to 5 hours while actually improving the quality of feedback. That's 10 hours multiplied each week. The fourth principle of time multiplication is batch processing. Switching between different types of tasks drains your energy and focus. Successful people group similar activities together, creating economies of scale with their attention. Instead of checking emails throughout the day, they process their inbox twice daily. Instead of handling administrative tasks whenever they arise, they batch them into a single weekly session. This batching can double or triple your productivity on these tasks. The fifth principle is strategic elimination. Most people ask, how can I get this done? Successful people ask, does this need to be done at all? They constantly evaluate whether activities are still necessary and aligned with their goals. I remember talking with a CEO who eliminated a weekly report that had been standard in his company for years. When asked why, he said, nobody was using the information to make decisions. It was consuming 12 person-hours weekly to produce something no one needed over a year. This simple elimination saved over 600 hours of productive time. These 5 principles: delegation, systems, technology leverage, batch processing, and strategic elimination allow you to multiply your impact without multiplying your hours. This is how some people seem to accomplish in a day what takes others a week or more. The most profound truth about time multiplication is this: it requires an initial investment of time to save time later. Most people aren't willing to make this investment. They're so busy being busy that they never step back to create systems that would ultimately free them. But successful people know that this initial investment yields returns for years to come. They're willing to spend time now to buy time later. This is the mindset that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. Time is not just about productivity, it's about legacy. Every minute you spend is creating your legacy, whether you realize it or not. The question is not whether you will leave a legacy, but what kind of legacy you will leave. I want to share a story that changed my perspective on time forever. I met an elderly man named Joseph in a small town. At 82, he had accomplished more than most people do in several lifetimes. He had built businesses, mentored hundreds of young people, written books, and transformed his community. I asked him, Joseph, what's your secret? How did you accomplish so much in one lifetime? He smiled and took out a small, worn notebook from his pocket. This is my secret. He said, inside were pages filled with daily entries spanning decades. Each day, Joseph had asked himself one question: what can I do today that will still matter in 5 years? This question transformed how he used his 24 hours. While others focused on urgent matters that would be forgotten in a week, Joseph invested his time in activities with long-term impact. All time is like a pebble dropped in water. Joseph told me the ripples continue long after the pebble disappears. Most people focus on the splash. I've always focused on the ripples. Joseph explained how he divided his day into 3 buckets: maintenance, things that keep life running; management, things that solve today's problems; and multiplication, things that create future impact. He never let maintenance and management consume so much time that multiplication was neglected. In his final years, Joseph told me his greatest satisfaction came not from what he had accumulated, but from what he had initiated processes, people, and projects that would continue without him. This is the ultimate time strategy of successful people. They use their 24 hours not just to build a living, but to build a legacy. Your legacy isn't something that begins after you're gone. Your legacy is being written right now, with each minute you spend or invest. Today matters. This hour matters. The next decision you make about how to use your time matters. I challenge you to approach your time with legacy in mind. Ask yourself, what can I do today that will echo into tomorrow? What seeds can I plant now that will grow long after I've moved on to other things? This perspective transforms mundane moments into meaningful investments. Suddenly, time spent developing a team member isn't just about solving today's problem. It's about building capacity that will yield returns for years. Time invested in creating systems isn't just about efficiency. It's about establishing excellence that outlasts your direct involvement. The way you use your 24 hours determines not just what you accomplish, but who you become and what you leave behind. Successful people understand this profound truth. Time isn't just passing, it's creating. You have been given the gift of time minus 24 precious hours each day. Not to spend, not to waste, not to kill, but to invest in creating a life and legacy of purpose and impact. Start today. Not tomorrow. Not when circumstances change. Not when you have more time, but today. Right now. Because this moment, this exact moment is all you're guaranteed. And in this moment lies the power to redirect your life, redefine your future, and create a legacy that echoes far beyond your years. Your 24 hours, your choice. Your legacy. What will you do with the time you've been given?